Hello, my name is Talia. I am a psychic medium and I'm also a spiritual advisor. Welcome to my channel where we go in depth about the spiritual journey and everything you need to know along the way. So come along, give me a follow and dive down the rabbit hole with us as we explore the ins and outs with our internal and external. What I'm going to be talking about today is the ego. What the ego is, the separation between our ego and higher self, and both its purpose and also its dangers. I'm also going to be going in depth on how to find the higher perspective and how to zone out and see things clearly. So first things first, what is the ego? Right? We all know that we are a spiritual being living a temporary human existence in a human body, right? So as we come down to earth, we forget who we are on a soul level. It's like our mind is wiped in a way. And as we come to earth, we are given an ego. An ego is our identity. It's who we are, right? It's your name, it's your personality, it's how other people know you and perceive you. Your ego is basically your lifeline to the 3D world. And your higher self is essentially your spirit body. It is your being. It's who you are and who you have always been since the beginning. So putting the two together, we have yin and yang, we have dark light, but we need both of them as they're both crucial to one another and crucial to our experience here on Earth. Getting in depth as to how the ego can also be dangerous as much as it can be essential. So essentially with the ego, you can have an underactive ego and you can also have an overactive ego. Sometimes it's really tricky to find that balance if you're not 100% aware of your ego, aware of yourself, of your higher self. So an example of an underactive ego would be negative self-thoughts, putting yourself down, believing you're not good enough, you're not capable. An underactive ego is allowing yourself to get in your head. All right, it's a lot of the times it can be anxiety. It can be listening to those thoughts that tell you, don't do that, they're watching you. Or, no, you can't do that, you're not good enough. Or you need to do better, you need to look like this. And sometimes we can get stuck in this loop of believing that this is the truth. So going from an underactive ego, let's talk about an overactive ego. And basically what this is this believing that you are better than other people. It is this sense of pride. It is lashing out on people. It is kind of a disconnect from this unconditional love, but more so towards others. Right? An overactive ego can sometimes be thinking so highly of yourself that you get wrapped up in it and start to kind of neglect the light of others and acknowledge the fact that we need each other, that we are connected, we are equals, we are one, no matter our level of consciousness, our level of frequency. Coming into this state of balance here, if we lived a life where we were only our higher selves, we wouldn't be on Earth, because that's not what this planet is about. We come here to learn. We come here to experience, to grow, right? Everything in front of us is a lesson, and it seems so real. We forget sometimes that we chose this lifetime. We chose these lessons, these people. Everything we experience, we chose, right? We forget this. So as we go through life, at the beginning of life with this ego, it begins to develop more of a personality, opinions, okay? It develops, it develops the ability to be an individual in a society, if this makes sense. As we kind of go through our spiritual journey, become aware that we are not just our ego. All right, we get to a point where we start to question ourselves and our reality, right? Especially a spiritual awakening, where we are like, you know what? I don't think that you die and then it's gone. I don't think that there is nothing out there. It's this kind of realization that you are something more, that you have a purpose, you have a reason for being here. It's this connection to, I have love inside of me. I am love. And sometimes it can be really tricky once you acknowledge this to hop back and forth, right? There's a lot of the times where we are really embodying our higher selves, and then we step back into the ego. But we have to visit the ego every day. We do visit the ego every day. It's a matter of how much do you step into it, all right? Do you catch yourself judging others, or do you continue to judge them harshly without realizing you're doing it? If this makes sense. Altogether, it's about balance. It's about finding out that there is no dark without light and no light without dark. And it is understanding that everything happens for a reason, and that you are not supposed to be perfect in this world and in this lifetime. Now, getting to the trickier topic, which is finding your peace and the importance of kind of holding the light and holding space for yourself and others. It's the zooming out and watching and perceiving what is in front of you rather than being engulfed in it and allowing it to take you over. When you step into alignment with your higher self, you're going to start to understand that there's a purpose behind everything. Every word that was said, every action, every situation, every person, it's a lesson. It's for growth, okay? And it's kind of like constantly seeing clearly. It's always looking at the big picture, right? For example, you are heading to work one day and it just gets off to a bad morning. Say you can't find your clothes, you don't have time for breakfast, you leave your phone at home, and then you get stuck in traffic, and then you're late for work, and etc., etc. Right? Our ego is going to want to take over in that moment, get really angry, maybe have some road rage, honk the horn, yell at people, yell at ourselves, right? Be hard on ourselves for forgetting these things. And our higher self is the one who zones out in that traffic and says, hey, everything happens for a reason. How are you responding? Are you responding or are you reacting? Are you reacting from a place of anger, from a place of hate, disconnected from love? Your higher self reminds you that everything is okay, and that we are not always going to be in control, and that we just have to flow and we have to hold our peace. Our higher self reminds us to come from a state of love. All right? This is an incredibly difficult part because we don't realize when we slip back into our ego. We don't realize sometimes when you get really angry, really frustrated, that we are reaching that level, reaching that state. And it's a constant battle of jumping back and forth, a constant battle of catching yourself. And it's also important to know that as we go through this phase of an ego death, of separation, knowing that you are human. Right now, you are human, right? You are not supposed to be perfect. You cannot be perfect, because how else would you learn and grow and experience? You are meant to experience these egoic moments so you can defer the difference, so your soul understands what it's like to experience the darkness alongside the light. When you go through this, it takes time, it takes practice, it takes self-awareness. You're going to find over time, you're going to come into such alignment that you are going to be very, very, very conscious, very aware, very mature in yourself, and you're going to be able to hold the space for yourself and others. You are going to be able to hold the peace. You are going to be able to control emotions like anger and frustration. Mind you, we're human. We're not always supposed to, but most of the time you're going to have this sense of control. And this is why it is so powerful to do your shadow work, to work with the ego, work with the dark feminine, with the dark masculine, in order to better understand it, so you can better work with it, alchemize it, and control it. Remember that an ego death is not about completely killing your ego and only being your higher self. An ego death is simply the separation of the two, and the educating yourself and educating others through being, through just holding the space, being that mirror, being that projector. It is so powerful, and you become so strong. So altogether, the journey through the ego is not an easy one. It is not for the faint of heart, but it will come around eventually. And remember to be easy on yourself, to hold the space for yourself, and know that we are not meant to be perfect. We are not perfect. So long as you are loving yourself and others and holding your peace, you are on the right path. You are proceeding softly on your journey. It takes time, it takes dedication, and it takes self-awareness. You are beautiful, you are amazing, creative individual, and you are you, and that's all that matters. So I'm sending you unconditional love for your journey today, and I hope that this message could resonate with you and it could help guide you along your journey. Have a beautiful, amazing rest of your day.